Okay, thought I'd have an early morning 15-minute game. I wonder if anyone will be around, or we can, while we're waiting, observe high-rated player to Norrival while we're waiting. So it's a 3 minute with 1 minute in. Oh, we got a game. Okay, not the time. Okay, maybe Benkö Gambit's worth a punt actually. I haven't played that for a while. I take care immediately. Right, so hopefully a little bit of counterplay from this. So I'm just going to put my queen on A8 later, and that will hit D5 and A2. Okay, if I play rook over here now, so rook B4 could be useful. Here rook B4 A3. Knight H5. A3 looks very handy. Now Knight C4. Or Knight H5. Or doubling rooks. These are all options. Knight B6. Knight E8 to C7. I think I'll go with this. Was Knight H5 for Knight E5? I think Knight E8 to C7. That would guard B5 a bit more. And put pressure on D5 as well from here. What's this guy's stats? Been up to 2061 on the 7th of January. Okay. Long established member. Okay, so having a think. Okay, so Knight C7 here. I want to play for on E5. There's Knight D5. Rook B4 could be handy. Well, B3. What about Knight B6 as well as an idea? Just Knight B6. Bishop C3 is a forcing move, just a note for anything it might do in the future. Okay, this is the weakest B4, so I think I'll go in for rook B4. Knight B5, I can take actually for A1. Bit of a disaster on A1 if Knight B5. There's a common sort of trap in this. Actually, this bishop takes C3 here and Knight D5. This one. That's interesting as well. No, if the knight wasn't in the way, that would be a good tactic. But as the knight's in the way, that's not really a good tactic at the moment. I think this is a useful trap, if nothing else, to keep going anyway. This knight b5, it's going to move the. You can't do that anyway because of that. Knight e5, bishop e5, bishop d4. What's wrong with bishop d4 here? Or bishop e5? How do I improve the position here? Maybe just knight b6 actually. Takes. So there's still no knight b5. Well, there isn't anyway. But then I could go back to b4 and then reintroduce maybe bishop c3 as a threat for knight d5 for rook f4. So I think I'll do this. Hopefully it's not a major disaster. So knight a2 looks dangerous though. Rook c4 there and bishop a1 and rook a4 is okay. That's a nasty pin on a2. Actually, for a5 now and then knight c4 and rook a5. This looks fairly pleasant. Now there is this threat of bishop c3 and knight d5. So it takes. I'm on this. That's probably this loose piece here. Bishop c3 takes on knight d5. Can't see anything wrong with that. Can't see anything better. I suppose there's knight d5 straight off the bat. If I don't want to give up the dark square bishop. Sort of takes as rook f4. If takes here, there's knight d5. In fact, bishop a1 first. So knight c takes d5. Taking on d6. Taking. Again, knight d5 looks strong. It's the end of white's centre. Queen e4, there's knight c3. It's protected by the rook on a6. So either bishop c3 or knight d5. Okay, knight d5. Queen's nicely on d5 here. Quite aesthetic looking position. Actually, if bishop d6, there's knight c3. So if ed, knight, rook f4, if knight c3, knight c3 takes d5, knight takes d5. Then in that position, bishop takes. Actually, there's knight b4 there, attacking the queen. Mind you, there's queen c5 there. I think it's simply just taking. Knight a2, knight takes f4. Okay, so let's look at possibilities again. So e takes, rook takes f4, clear enough. Knight takes, bishop d6, takes, queen takes d5, or bishop takes a1. So let's take like this. Right, so knight c3 might be nice. Putting loads of pressure on e4. if f3 is forced there, bishop a1, doesn't that just win the exchange? If he takes, I'll just move the bishop back. If he takes, then knight f6. I could just win the exchange. I think I'll win the exchange. Alright, I don't think my dark squares are that fatal here, so knight f6 should be okay. If e5, e5 doesn't seem such a big deal. Maybe just if I don't want chain wrecked, just knight e4, because this is protecting d6, so I think I'll go here. Just knight e4 threatens knight takes g3. But can I lock this bishop now at e5, or is that really dangerous? Bishop h4. With bishop h4, maybe knight h5. It could be time to lock down, but knight c4 is knight e4. Okay, I'll lock down. So I'm equal on pawns, just the exchange up. Knight c4 could be annoying, potentially. And queen b8 protects d6, hits b3. If rook b1, rook a4 there. Bishop h4, knight h5, coming into f4. I think maybe something like f3, knight h5 does look good. Actually, just queen b7 and this is potentially a dangerous pass pawn, the a pawn here. Okay, I think I'll play knight h5 here. This is another major tactic. Knight d5 takes rook h4, knight d5. I think knight h5 is okay. I'll play knight h5, I think, to go to f4. So knight f4 here. There might be knight e3 to d5, but at least on f4 it does support d5 control. d6 is not a problem at the moment. And bishop f6 could be a pain. That's d5 hitting bishop and knight. So knight f4. Mind you, bishop e5 there takes b2, rook e1, rook a4. Actually, there's also f5 on the cards, g2. f5. Interesting. Actually, if bishop d6, there's rook c4. If knight d6, it doesn't look that convincing. Maybe something like queen a7, hitting the bishop. How does the knight defend? Knight c8, I suppose. What was another way of hitting the bishop? Queen. There isn't queen b7. Okay. Has it got tricky here? Queen b8 for a moment. Queen b7, prompting bishop d6, rook c4. Does queen b7? If knight d6, queen e7. So I'm hitting e7 and b3 actually. So knight d6, queen e7. Bishop d6, rook c4. Bishop moves, rook b3. Seems to tick a few boxes. This move, queen b7. I think rook c4 here. Okay, looks pretty good. We're just controlling the d file. Queen d1. It's queen d7 for rook d1. It's queen e5 with knight d3 there. No check. And that's pretty good. Anything else on the cards? I think knight d3 is a nice move to get in anyway. Knight h3 is worth noting for future reference, but I think knight d3 is probably the way to go. Pressure on f2, protect e5, try and get the queen involved. Now check on d1 is also looking good for queen d2, queen e5, queen f2, threatening mate, rook g3, queen g1. I'm not going for that. So queen d2, queen e5, queen f2, protecting the knight, threatening queen g2 mate. Mind you, there isn't a check. Queen c8, that's okay. There's no check to win e5. I'll go for this. Unless there's a check here. King h over there. Rook g3, queen g1. That looks pretty strong with the knight, rook and queen coming in. Queen e5, queen f2. Rook g3, queen g1. So queen c8, king g7. Rook f3. Maybe rook f3. Simply guarding f2 here. Actually from the queen as well. Okay. I suppose queen. Is queen c1 out of the question? Queen e5, check. King there. Knight check. King G4 gets a bit murky. H5. Actually, doesn't knight E2 threaten rook H1, Queen E1, Queen G1? I think that's a major threat after knight E2. Maybe that's worth playing. I'm not getting mated or anything. So knight E2 threatening rook H1. Is that too risky? Doesn't seem that risky. Threatens rook H1, Queen E1, Queen G1. Keeps the king locked in, so I'm going to go for that. So rook H1. Is that something? That's missable, isn't it? Rook H1. That's a bit of a subtle threat. I'm down to 4 minute 33 now. So Queen E5 looks tempting, maybe. With the idea of checking and stuff. G3 again, rook H1, Queen E1, Queen G1. Rook G3 again, Queen at rook H1. Rook H1 looks to be a major threat. Maybe H4. Does rook H1 work there? Takes Queen E1, King H2, Queen G1, King H3. Oh, he is playing that. Is H5 just to make sure the king can't go anywhere? I think H5 just to make sure the king hasn't got square. So again, rook H1 I think is renewed, even if the queen has to come down to H1, king coming to H3, it will be mate on H1, rook H1. So Queen E5, rook H1 takes Queen E1, King H2, Queen G1, King H3, Queen H1, mate. The pawn's in the mating net. Can't see much else now from white. Check, check, check. Oh, there's Queen H2 at the end of this. Oh dear, there's Queen H2 here. Oh, should I just exchange off queens? Oh dear. Now he's threatening Queen E8, so this is not working. Check, check, King H3, check. Oh, I can try and exchange queens. Not good. I'm 3 minutes down. Monumental mess made of the position. Oh there. Doesn't work. Queen H2. So 3 minute each. Down to a 3 minute game. Whoops, and there's two connected pass pawns. Opponent's in with a good shot here. After all that. Without Queen D6 I'm probably in big trouble as well. Dear oh dear. Can my knight stop these pawns? Actually, rook D3, there's no knight F3. Oh dear, getting into a pin. Rook D8, knight E6. My kings are going to have to struggle with these pawns. I'll get out of that pin possibility. Try and win one of these pawns with rook d4. And we're in a time pressure scenario now. So, oh dear. Can the knight cope with the two passed pawns? Let's get behind them, I think, with rook b2. There's knight f4 as well if I want to try and nab g2. If I nab g2, does that have any significance with knight f4? This pawn looks pretty strong. Get behind this one. Even stop knight f4. What about rook b4 here? Can't move the a pawn without losing b5. I can come back there. So there's knight c5. Those pawns might be loose. That was it looking a bit clear now. Okay, if I do this, I think I better blockade before it's too late, because also this rook b1 to b8 looks a bit dangerous. Get my king over. Okay. I'll get my king to actually rook b4 here might be good. Just to get the rooks off, get the king in, but I don't know. Keep that in reserve for a sec. Maybe the rook behind pawn. Just that rook a1. I'm throwing a check to get this king back a bit. I don't mind the rook exchange here for sure. Get knight to over here. Alright, I think I'll get the king over. What about knight to f5? Oh, he stopped that. Dear oh dear. Why am I in trouble again? What about knight e6? Knight e6. I think I'm finally winning this. Stopping the 50 move draw rule. Blimey. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, blimey. That was an intense game. So Benkö Gambit, little tactic with this bishop, Lewis bishop, a bit pedantic, this tactic. But it wins the exchange here. I think it just basically put on the back foot, piece down now. Thought I was going to get mating there, but rook f3 brilliant, h4 brilliant, queen e5 brilliant, it's queen h2 and queen e8. So let's get the queens off. Lucky that maybe he didn't pin the knight. Tricky game, tricky. So comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.